Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert here at Death Valley, Tiger Stadium, bringing you our 2021 LSU College Football Predictions. No better atmosphere in the country than right here in Death Valley. And you look at LSU, guys, they followed up one of the best seasons, maybe the best season in college football history from 2019, with a disappointing, mediocre 2020, where the Tigers went just 5-5, but cut Ed Orgeron and the Tigers some slack. They were dealing with a COVID year, they were dealing with injuries, they were dealing with opt-outs. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for LSU. They started the year 2-3, but won their final two games over Florida and Ole Miss to carry a little bit of momentum into 2021. A 2021 season where I can promise you they will bounce back. So we take a look at this team, guys. We'll start on offense. Literally right before we got here, right before we got to Death Valley, news broke that star quarterback Myles Brennan suffered a very serious injury to his left arm that will leave him out for an extended period of time. A guy who we thought would bounce back from his injury from last year, lead this Tigers offense, might not be under center in week 1 against UCLA. Might not be under center maybe for the entire season. Brings a lot of questions to this offense, guys, but luckily for LSU, they have a guy named Max Johnson who got better as the season went on. Threw for over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, just 1 interception, helped lead the team to victory in the swamp at Florida last year. They've got a guy with plenty of game experience because Brennan went down with injury last year too. So a devastating injury. We truly, truly hate to see that, but they have a capable guy in Max Johnson who was battling for that job anyways. Not to mention that he's got Tyrion Davis-Price, John Emery Jr. back as his top 2 rushers. He has his entire offensive line back, and he's got Kayshon Boutte, who will now become the new top wide receiver at LSU. They've been cranking out top wide receivers like crazy. Had 735 yards and 5 touchdowns last year. Had over 300 reception yards in the season finale against Ole Miss in 2020. You look at the defense, guys. This is the area of the team that needs the most improvement. 9 starters back on that side of the ball from the worst passing defense in the country last year. They allowed 323 passing yards per game. They were 124th in the nation, allowing 492 total yards per game. And their 34.9 points per game allowed was the worst for LSU since 1952. But we do know they're going to bounce back in a big way, mostly because Bo Pelini's gone. Ed Orgeron had enough, and they cut Bo Pelini as defensive coordinator. They have Andre Anthony back on the defensive line, 5.5 sacks last year. They have Glenn Logan back on that defensive line as well. And the secondary has the chance to be one of the best in the country with Derek Stingley, one of the best cornerbacks in the entire nation, paired along with Eli Riggs. LSU is going to bounce back in a big way. The talent is there to do that. So we take a look at their schedule. What the Tigers are up against in 2021. A difficult schedule at that, but one where they will once again be in the hunt for a New Year's Six bowl game. Will be in the hunt maybe for the college football playoff. They open up their season in week 1 at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. Now, this is one of the most intriguing week 1 matchups. It's kind of overshadowed by the likes of Georgia and Clemson and Alabama and Miami, but LSU, UCLA out in LA is going to be very, very exciting for a UCLA team that returns 19 starters and is looking to finally reach those lofty expectations set by Chip Kelly. Now, the million-dollar question for this game, guys, one is, can UCLA stop the LSU pass? And I guess the same goes for the Tigers. But the Bruins, like LSU, have one of the worst secondaries in the nation last year, ranking 114th, allowing over 274 passing yards per game. So can UCLA stop the LSU pass, and can LSU stop the UCLA run as the Bruins average over 230 rushing yards per game? That's going to be the key in this one, guys. An opportunity for a potential high-scoring matchup out at the Rose Bowl. But at the end of the day, I like LSU's defense a little bit better. Yes, I know they were bad last year, but I think they have a drastic change in 2021. And right now, I'm going to like LSU's passing attack a little bit more than UCLA. I love Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but I like the Tigers in this one, guys. 19 starters back for the Bruins, but it might not be enough to get the job done. LSU 1-0 with a quality win at a very historic site. We think they cruise past McNeese. We think they cruise past Central Michigan. So LSU 3-0, maybe even a top 10 team at this point as they're entering SEC conference play. They kick off SEC play at Mississippi State. Now, last year, right here in Death Valley, the season opener for SEC, the reigning national champions, LSU, number 6 in the country, took on Mike Leach and Mississippi State's air raid offense, and the Tigers gave up over 600 passing yards to KJ Costello, and the Tigers lost by 10 points, 44-34, to the Bulldogs. It was one of the most shocking upsets and shocking results of the 2020 season. That's not going to happen this year in Starkville. LSU knows now how to cope with the air raid offense. You rush 3, you drop 8. That's all you got to do to stop Mike Leach in the air raid. Keep in mind they don't have KJ Costello anymore. Keep in mind LSU absolutely wants revenge now. And keep in mind that Mississippi State won't be a bad team, but I don't want to use this word, but I think last year was a bit of a fluke for the Bulldogs. LSU will bounce back. They will defeat Mississippi State in Starkville. They are 4-0. They come back home to take on Auburn. Last year against the Tigers at Jordan-Hare Stadium, they fell 48-11. Well, if you don't think that Ed Ogeron and the Tigers are upset about that, losing by 37 to a mediocre Auburn team, think again. A major reason LSU struggled in that game was quarterback questions. They didn't know the capability of Max Johnson. They were using TJ Finley at times. Big mistake. This year, Auburn has a brand new head coach in Brian Harsin. They've got to travel to Death Valley. The defense really and Tank Bigsby are the only things that Auburn has going for them. And kind of like the Mississippi State game, LSU wants revenge, and they will get it right here in Death Valley. So still, LSU undefeated. Like we mentioned, a potential top 10 team. They're back on track. They're, 5-0 now after starting 2-3 in their first 5 games last year. They go on the road to take on Kentucky. This is a major, major trap game for the Tigers. A lot of people will laugh at that. A lot of people think the Tigers will just cruise past the Wildcats. That's not true. Kentucky now brings in Will Levis from Penn State. They have a very capable quarterback now. We know that Chris Rodriguez wants to run with the Wildcats. He's one of the best running backs in the SEC. And Kentucky's secondary will be one of the best in the SEC as well. This is a talented Kentucky team, guys, and now LSU has to travel to Lexington. Major, major trap game for me. But I'm not going to go with the trap. I'm not going to go with what some people are thinking. I'm going to pick LSU here. I'm going to think they go on the road and defeat Kentucky. I think from a size and physicality standpoint, LSU still owns that edge. From a passing standpoint, LSU still owns the edge, despite the addition of Will Levis. Kind of like this UCLA game. If LSU can stop the run, I think they're going to be okay. Because right now, I don't have faith in Kentucky winning the game through the air, because that's not what they want to do. So they beat Kentucky on the road. They come back home to take on Florida, the infamous shoe game from 2020. We all remember what happened last year. LSU goes into the swamp, major underdogs, the worst secondary in the country, facing one of the best passing offenses in the country, and they shut down Kyle Trask in Florida on their home turf and win 37-34, mostly thanks to Marco Wilson chunking the shoe about 20 yards down the field, setting LSU up for the game-winning field goal. So a lot of mixed emotions coming into this game. An emotional game because that ruined Florida's playoff hopes, and it was just one of the most wild endings we've seen in recent college football history. Well, now the game, though, is in Death Valley, guys. We expect LSU to be drastically improved on defense, and Florida loses Kyle Trask, they lose Kyle Pitts, they lose Trayvon Grimes, they lose Kadarius Toney, they lose some starters on defense. Florida is still going to be a solid contender in the SEC, but they're nowhere near what they're going to be from last year. If LSU, with the team they had last year, can go into the swamp and beat a Florida team that I thought was better in 2020 than they'll be in 2021, LSU can absolutely win now in Death Valley. No doubt in my mind. We're going to pick them to beat the Gators, and they're undefeated, guys. They are 7-0 going into the road game at Ole Miss, which is 5 games remaining on their schedule. 7-0, definitely a top 10 team right now. Definitely looking like college football playoff contenders again. Well, they go on the road to take on Ole Miss right before their bye week, and then right after that, Alabama. Comes at an odd time. And Oxford, not an easy place to play, and Oxford and Ole Miss, not an easy team to play. They have one of the best passing offenses in the country. They ranked 7th nationally in passing last year. Matt Corral, that quarterback that led that attack, is back. Jerry and Ely, not just a threat on the ground, but also a threat to the air, is back. And Ole Miss's defense, that was their downfall last year. We expect that to improve drastically in 2021. No doubt in my mind. LSU won here against Ole Miss 53-48 in the season finale last year. A major reason for that, though, was the fact that Matt Corral threw 5 interceptions. 5 interceptions. That's not going to happen again. LSU's defense is good, but Matt Corral is going to take another step forward. He's not going to have another multi-interception game against the Tigers. With home field advantage on their side and a better performance from their quarterback, I like Ole Miss to upset LSU. An Ole Miss team that at this point could also be a top 20 team, so we could see a top 20 showdown in Oxford right before the Tigers' bye week. They're hungover after a loss, but luckily they get their bye to prep for that. Their season's not over. They upset Alabama in Tuscaloosa, which we now know is possible. And Tigers did it just 2 years ago with that squad led by Joe Burrow. They upset Alabama. They're still in the playoff hunt. They're still in the SEC title hunt. So they go into Tuscaloosa, guys. A team they lost to 55-17 last year, right here, 55-17. Alabama has owned LSU for about the past decade now. They really have. LSU won, the game of the century back in 2011? And that was the last time they had won until 2019. So Nick Saban and the Tide, they know what they're doing. Now the game's in Tuscaloosa. Both teams are coming off a bye. Alabama now dealing with a new quarterback in Bryce Young, but he's going to have immediate chemistry with one of the best receivers in the SEC, John Mechie. So you've got Max Johnson and Kayshon Boutte, most likely Max Johnson, assuming Myles Brennan isn't healthy again, and then Bryce Young and John Mechie. Now my question to you is, which one out of these teams has the better defense? Alabama returns 8, LSU returns 9. Both tons of talent coming back. But I'm going to venture to say that Alabama's going to own that defensive edge. I expect LSU to improve defensively, no doubt in my mind, but to the point where they're going to be above the Tide, a team that just won the national championship last year, with that defense, in Tuscaloosa, I'm going to have to pick Alabama here. Home field advantage is going to play such a key role. It's not going to be 55-17 again, and Orgeron will not allow that to happen again. He knows how to compete against Alabama now. But they're not going to be able to win in Tuscaloosa for the second time in a row. Alabama gets this win. LSU drops their second straight game. So with that, they're probably out of playoff contention now. New Year's Six Bowl contention still in the cards. Playoff contention pretty much done with 2 losses. They kick off, or they go into their final 3 games, let's just say, the final quarter of the season, start here in Death Valley against Arkansas. And it should be mentioned that their final 3 games for LSU are all here in Death Valley. That's extremely beneficial for Ed Orgeron and the Tigers. Well, the game against Arkansas, we're going to give them a win. They've won 5 straight against the Razorbacks, 5 straight Golden Boot victories for the Tigers, including a 27-24 victory last year. I don't know if I can say the game will be as close this year as it was last year. Last year was in Fayetteville. Both teams were missing a handful of key players. Both teams hung over after multiple COVID cancellations. LSU here in Death Valley is going to get the win and win their 6th straight against the Razorbacks. They will get their 6th straight win against the Razorbacks, but the Hogs will keep it close. They beat ULM, they beat Louisiana Monroe, no worries there, and their season finale comes here, senior night in Death Valley against Texas A&M, another potential top 15 showdown between the Aggies and the Tigers. 2 years ago, Texas A&M walked into here to face Joe Burrow and the Tigers and fell 50-7. Last year, LSU strolled into College Station, lost 20-7. I'm expecting a somewhat similar result from last year, except this time it's in favor of the Tigers. Not saying it's going to be 20-7, but I think LSU gets this win over a Texas A&M team that at this point in the season could still be in the hunt for the college football playoff. If A&M comes in here undefeated or with 1 loss, their playoff hopes are on the line in Death Valley. But again, a potential night game on senior night in Death Valley, again, all those factors making it one of the most difficult environments to play in. I think LSU's offense is able to exploit one of the best defenses in the country in Texas A&M. And I really do wonder if Texas A&M's offense, that's going to rely so heavily on the run, will be able to exploit this LSU defense that I genuinely believe gets better with each week. So LSU on senior night defeats Texas A&M, ruins the Aggies' playoff hopes if they weren't already, and the Tigers will finish 10-2. And if you're an LSU fan, you got to be happy with that. 5-5 in 2020, one of the worst defenses in program history. You bounce back, you win 10 games, a shot at 11 wins, going to a New Year's Six Bowl game, no doubt in our minds. Ed Orgeron is still the man here in Baton Rouge. Ed Orgeron is still the man here in Death Valley. People had doubts after last year. Like we said at the beginning, cut him some slack. Cut everybody some slack. The Tigers are back. They're here to stay, and they're going 10-2 in 2021. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert on YouTube. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, on-site predictions. Come on, you can't get any better than this. Can't get any better than filming right here in Death Valley, one of the best environments in the country. So make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe. Check out everything down in the description below. Sign up for those expert picks. If you think these are good, those picks are even better, so don't miss out on that. Sign up before the season starts today. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.